What's up, church? We're back with some more of our devotions, and today I want to talk about something that's pretty familiar to you and something that's probably not. Everybody knows what the word quarantine means, and by now we all know that it stinks, right? Everybody also knows about social distancing. That means stay 6 feet away from everybody else, which is kind of funny because you can tell who the people who are really afraid are because you walk in the store and they dive to get away from you. But at least we all know what that is. And I'm not criticizing the practice of either one of those precautions because, listen, I understand the reasons behind both of them. It's better to be safe than sorry. But what I want to talk to you about today is something that I call spiritual distancing. Now listen, there are two kinds of spiritual distancing. One you should observe and one you shouldn't. Okay, the spiritual distancing that you should observe is actually really important. This means that you should be distancing yourself from the attitudes that may spiritually hinder you, right? Listen, for example, distance yourself from giving in to anything that makes you feel fearful or desperate. John 14:27, Jesus tells us, I am leaving you with a gift, peace of mind and heart. And the peace I give is a gift the world cannot give. So don't be troubled or afraid. So basically, avoid anything that inspires an attitude of fear in you. And that might mean social media, that might mean TV, whatever it is that inspires that attitude in you. Now, don't get me wrong, it's normal for everybody to have fearful thoughts every once in a while or moments of anxiety, right? That's completely normal. But that's precisely when this form of spiritual distance comes into play, or distancing comes into play. See, you apply this spiritual distancing by not letting those thoughts that pop into your mind take root. Now, how do you do that, right? Philippians 4:8-9 says, and now, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing, fix your thoughts. This tells us we can control our thoughts. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice all that you've learned and received from me, everything you heard from me and saw me doing, and the God of peace will be with you. Basically, this form of spiritual distancing is about, first of all, taking ownership or control of your thoughts. All right? And second of all, it's about distancing yourself from thoughts that distract your faith. Okay? Now, the spiritual distancing that you should not observe is as follows. That means distancing yourself from God when you're going through a difficult time. Psalm 46:1 says, God is our refuge and strength, always ready to help in times of trouble. James 4:8 says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. Now, I know it's difficult when we get out of our spiritual routines, and right now all of us are out of our spiritual routines. We're not going to the Bible studies we normally go to. We're not going to the men's and women's groups. We're not going to small groups. We're not going to the normal services that we're used to at 9 and 11. But that being said, remember the reason that you take part in all those things in the first place. Listen, we should be doing those things because our desire is to get closer to God. Be careful that you don't confuse your spiritual routines with your spiritual identity. Okay, if you're a believer, you're a child of God. And as such, you have access to God no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, even when you're in quarantine. Now, as a matter of fact, it's often during the most challenging times that we get the closest to God. Right? When we have to rely on it. Psalm 62:8 says, O my people, trust in him at all times. Pour out your heart to him, for God is our refuge. Listen, these challenging circumstances we're dealing with could actually serve to help you appreciate the power and protection we have in God that we, too often overlook, honestly. So my challenge for you is I want you to go ahead and take the necessary precautions. Follow all the things that they're telling you to do because they are doing that for your good. But don't forget the two rules of spiritual distancing that we just discussed today, because maybe you'll come out of this mess closer to God than you ever imagined. Thanks for spending some time with us.